Good evening. Thanks again. Seeing familiar faces. Well, I'm just glad that when I noticed that, when I was told that somebody's actually watching in the Philippines. So praise God for that. And I guess we're only an hour ahead, so it's easier. I was gonna tell my pastor if he could watch live, but it would be like what time? 3 a.m. in the morning there. So I don't think he would wake up for this. He'll probably just watch the late broadcast. Okay, anyway, thank you so much for coming back. And tonight's title is Health Suppressors. I don't know if you've noticed it, the progression. The first night, we talk about, of course, you remember, we talk about wonder. This body is wonderfully made. And you only have one. And God has given us responsibility to take care of this body. Okay? And it's a perfect design. I don't think God would ever modify anything that He had, the way He put us together. Okay? So, we talk about, well, you're feeding your cells, not your taste buds, okay? Your cells. We talk about telomeres, the week, that determines how long you're going to live. The immune system that protects our body. And again, just to refresh your mind that we have such a perfect community inside our body. It's just an amazing and awesome living machine. And last night, we talked about the first night as perfect body. And so when God created a perfect body, perfect human being, He must have a perfect fuel in mind, right? To power this body. And He did. We talked about it last night. And we talked about the Edenic diet. We know that. Which is made up of, what is it? Herbs bearing seed and fruit bearing seed. And we tried to look through it in details, what they are. And it's actually, most of them are the fruit group foods. And science now has confirmed that among the food groups, the fruit groups are the one who contributes largely to health and longevity. So, and there are actually a group of people that call themselves fruitarian. And I guess throughout the day, I am mostly fruitarian because I have my fruit smoothie for breakfast and for lunch, and I have my salad. I eat the grass at night along with the seeds and nuts. So we talk about that one. Whole foods, perfect packaging. We should not, as much as we can, modify the packaging that God made. I know Okinawa is just so famous, and when you buy foods in their supermarket, you don't want to open it because it's so packaged nicely, okay? But God has whole foods packaging, and we should not change it. We talk about the micronutrients and the macronutrients. Sadly, we eat mostly macronutrients and less on micronutrients. Macronutrients provide energy to the body. It has calories, while the micronutrients protect the body from diseases. And we also talk about reductionism. The way God packaged fruit, you should not, chop them, put it through the labs and separate all the nutrients. Otherwise, some molecular components can be harmful to the body if eaten separately from the whole package. Okay, so tonight, we'll talk about, you notice now, perfect body, perfect fuel. If this body is feed with the perfect fuel God designed, I don't think we'll get to tomorrow's, tomorrow is the disease, where we talk about disease. So tonight, we'll be talking about something that God designed this perfect body. He designed a perfect food. Now, what could possibly happen that it would interfere the functioning, the normal functioning of this perfect body? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Now, notice, before flesh food was introduced into the world, of course, sadly, after sin, we were driven out, our first parents driven out of the Garden of Eden. And yet, even after that, the people of antediluvians still living close to a millennium. Of course, you know who is the longest living person. Actually, who is the longest living person? Methuselah. And some Pastor Doug Batchelor actually pointed that out. Huh? Enoch? That's right. Yeah, that's why it's a trick question. The longest living person is Enoch. He's still living today. Now, the longest person who ever lived and died, okay, is Methuselah. Okay? So, and notice after the flood, Noah still lived 300 years after the flood. He still have, and I like to make a suggestion, and I made this proposition. I did a series of health lecture on Wednesday prayer meeting, and I suggested to them that, because notice that all the foods, I believe that the foods that were present in the Garden of Eden, God made them available outside. Now, God prescribed plant foods, right? Is there any nutrients missing if you're a vegetarian from plant foods? Vitamin B12, we are missing on that one because we cannot eat them from plant foods, okay? So, and with that even, I'm not too convinced even, because my brother and his family, they've been vegan since for almost 30 years now. And I have not found any deficiency in them so far. But anyway, I made a suggestion that what if, remember now, what is the difference within the vegetation inside the Garden of Eden and outside? What is it? Okay. So, but anyway, I made a suggestion that maybe remember now that there is one tree that they no longer have access to. What is that tree? The tree of life. What if the tree of life is the one who supplies the B12? Who knows, right? Okay. Who knows? Who knows? Because that's the only thing that was been withdrawn from them. Because they're still eating the plant foods. But yet we are now becoming deficient. Probably because B12 actually can be recycled. The body can recycle it. So anyway, let's keep going. Now, yes. There is a lot, especially with our brain function, okay, cognition, and also muscle development. So there's several that it can do. And so if it would affect your thinking, your brain function, if you're deficient on it. Then, yes.
We've read some stuff that there are really trace amounts of B12 in certain foods.
Yes.
And plants, even plant foods, there's trace amounts. And the idea is people think that we need more than trace amounts, but I'm thinking probably all we need is trace amounts.
We only need 24 micrograms. It's micrograms. It's very trace.
And you said last night, which we had heard before, that you actually produce it.
Yeah, produce it in your saliva, in your mouth. So
I think we get that.
So I believe that if God designed something, it should be complete. Okay? So, and science now has proven that, I shared this last night, that the healthiest diet is one that maximizes the intake of what? Not just plant foods, whole plant foods. What does it mean? Unprocessed. Okay? Unprocessed foods minimizes the intake of animal-based foods and processed junk. Because even if it is plant-based, and if it's highly processed, then it's not good for you. Also, Dr. Campbell said people who ate the most animal-based foods got the most chronic disease. And people who ate the most plant-based foods were the healthiest. So you can see now, I'm not going to focus so much. I have so many lectures on meats, but I'm not going to focus because we know now that what God designed really for this body, for a perfect body, is whole foods, plant-based. So we're not going to spend too much on flesh foods, but let me just go through a little bit of it. Major diseases is caused by inflammation. Major diseases and any type of disease, what is inflammation? It is really the abnormal functioning of the body caused by inflammatory foods or substance. And just very briefly, all plant foods eliminate or prevent inflammation. All animal source foods and processed foods cause inflammation. So you get the idea, right? So everything on that in your right side cause inflammation. So those are the foods that God said do not eat in the first place anyway. All right? So everything on the side cause inflammation. Now, as far as an animal industry, who's got a calculator and quickly do this one? 450 billion land animals are factory farmed. You know what's factory farming, right? Okay, and how many people are there in this world right now? Not even 8 billion yet, all right? Almost 8 billion. Or did we already hit 8 billion? Not yet, not quite, but let's use 8 billion. So 450 billion divided by 8 billion. What is that number? 450, huh? So just say 450, huh? 450 billion divided by 8 billion. What is it? 56 and a quarter, and that's like 5,000, right? 5,600 because you take so there's 5,000 animals for every person. And so how many is that a day? We're consuming a lot of animal products, and no wonder people are getting sick. All right, and can you imagine? Look what it's doing to the environment. We're mass producing these animals, farming them instead of the animals freely roaming, grazing on the open field and grass. So they are farmed. And what it says, factory farming and health are tightly linked. They have that inverse proportion. As factory farming and monoculture crops increase, what happened to the health of the people? It will decrease. You know that 80% of the antibiotics and the hormones that's produced, it's used in the animal industry, and you're eating them. That's why right now the medical community are having a problem. The antibiotics now are not working on people anymore because we are exposed to it so many times. You're eating meat products that you can build an immunity to this antibiotics, so there's hardly any that would work anymore. And if there is a severe infection that's going to happen, we're going to be wiped out. So the good advice is, if it came from a plant, the actual plant, eat it. But if it was made in a plant, a factory, don't. Because by then, it is totally processed. And Okay? So what is food processing? Food processing is pretty much simply modification of God's original design. And I mentioned that earlier or the other day at night. You know, whatever it is, if you can no longer recognize the food in its original form, that means it is highly processed. So as much as possible, we should eat food in its original form. So there's several ways to process foods: mincing, macerating, liquefaction, emulsification, all of that, and cooking, of course. Yes. When you, yes, yes, but as long as you just chop it and you freeze it, you did not add anything to it, it's still it's not considered processed. If
So when you go to the grocery store and you buy frozen strawberries and mango,
Mhm.
is that processed or
no, it's just chopped up. If you look at the ingredients, it just said mango.
right?
It's not processed. But if you see mango and several other things, it is processed because they added preservatives and additives, which we're going to be talking tonight as well. You're welcome. So, and it dates back, and back in my place, you know how we process food? We're very poor, and we try to preserve food. We use salt to preserve them. And back in my place, we call it ginamos, and in Tagalog, we call it bagoong. That means highly salted anchovies, most of them, and also we dry the fish with salt in them to preserve them so that we can eat it at a later time. So those are the type of preservation and processing. And modern food processing technology, they actually just started. It started during to preserve foods for the military. When they go on deployment, the Marines and the military, we use MREs, and actually the modern food processing factories are inspired by what the military did. The way we package food or preserve food so that we can consume it during a combat operation. And the bottling technique was developed in 1809. Canning was developed in 1810, and pasteurization is 1864. This is in 1864. They started now adding something onto the food that is being preserved. So any processing of food affects nutritional density. Remember now we talked about last night that when food is subjected to heat, you lose the nutrients. You lose nutrients in it. So most of the food that we're eating really, when it's packaged, we're just all eating the macronutrients. We're not taking in any of the micronutrients which protects our body from disease. So right now, you know, there are so many companies, food companies out there. They're actually just owned by 8 of them, major big corporations that own several of these food factories, food processing companies. And eventually, there is actually, and right now the biggest, and most of these companies use genetically modified ingredients. And we'll talk about GMO later on.
Brother Rizzo, what is number 8 up there? Against which?
Yes, so Unilever. Unilever is a big company that owns those like laundry products and things like that, but they also own several of the food companies that you can see right here. Oh, you see, I can see better right here. So there are some food products, sun products, like I'll give you a copy of this one. I can't see them myself really good, but most of the food factories are owned by big corporations, and mostly owned by these 8 major companies. Number 1 is the Kraft, Coca-Cola, Nestle, PepsiCo, Unilever, Kellogg's company, and Mars company, which own most of the candy factories. Okay, so because of animal farming, factory farming, because of food factories, right now, the food that you're eating, it became synonymous with diseases. Have you ever seen at one time, it was pulled away right away. At one time there was a commercial in the States that these small kids would say, "Mom, could you please buy me diabetes? And can you buy me cancer?" Because the foods that they are eating actually is almost synonymous with disease. And so this is what happens. Sugar, the food dyes would result in obesity, diabetes, cancer, or these chemicals, heart diseases, and preservatives caused by, and is synonymous with heart disease. So because of what we did to food, we're eating food away, so far away of how it would look originally. So that's the reason why we are getting all these major diseases. Let's talk about sugary drinks, for example. It's convincing evidence now, increased weight gain, obesity, and diabetes. We know that, and it's been proven many times. And you know, have you heard of BVO? Brominated vegetable oil. You know what it was? You know what it was originally developed for? It is a flame retardant. It's a flame retardant. Now, initially during the beverage industry, they would add some coloring, for example, and flavor onto the drink. It will separate whatever flavoring or coloring that you would put. It would separate from water. So when they add BVO, it would mix it. And think about this: when you're drinking soda or you are drinking flame retardant. So what it's doing to your body is a toxic chemical that's circulating into your system. No wonder that when you drink sugary drinks or soda, for example, it paralyzes your blood vessels. It interferes with your circulation. And there's so many effects on fructose on the body. Another thing, salty foods. It causes, especially those salted products, like highly processed, the hot dogs, all of that, cause a lot of the colon cancer and the rectal cancer. So, and have you seen people that eating before they taste the food, they're already doing like this? So the first thing that you need to do when you go home, if you still have those, throw them away. Okay? You're doing yourself a great favor by getting rid of that. And at home, we don't have salt anymore. If my wife would use salt, we use sea salt. At least it is naturally get dried, sea water. But most of the salt right now are manufactured iodinated salt, which become very unhealthy for us. And processed foods. Let's talk about processed foods. And processed food is just simply from farm to fork. You harvest it, the only processing that you do is just you wash it. And then you consume it. That's the way to eat food. Alright? So, and the only processing involved is digesting juice in your stomach, and also the chopping of it in your mouth, the chewing mechanism, and that's it. That is what we call unprocessed foods. That's how God intended for Adam and Eve to eat. Just like I said earlier, that I don't think there is a kitchen. Eve has a kitchen in Eden, right? I don't think she's got a kitchen there. Right? They just go wander around, and I can relate to the lives of Adam and Eve when I was growing in my barrio in the Philippines. When we go home on the weekend, we have nothing to do with me and my brothers and sisters. My mother doesn't worry about us if we come home to eat. Did you know why? We go out there, we play out in the forest. We have guava, we have banana, we have coconut, we have peanuts, we have sweet potatoes. All of that, all what we do, If we want peanuts, we just pull out, rub like this, peanuts hanging. We have a creek flowing, we just wash it, boom, we eat it. We do the same thing with sweet potato. We dig them up, and we wash them, we eat them. And, well, sometimes my brother is very good in his slingshot. We would occasionally have a meal with birds. We would try to slingshot birds, and we would roast them when we eat them. Okay, but even that one, they're organic, right? They're highly organic. It's not grown on the farm. Highly organic, and it's still healthy. Right. But anyway, next, lightly processed. Lightly processed foods are milled or pressed. It is now, the food is now subjected into some milling and pressing. And it's done with grains and oils now. The food is now starting to get modified. So lightly processed. However, this is the food that the people right now, are eating the most. Ultra processed food. Do you know if you eat French fries, you know what they actually do? From the food factory, they made that French fries, they already fried it. They fried it, and then they package it and ship it to the fast food chains. And then, what does the fast food chain do? You fry it again. Now, frying is the worst way of preparing food, because you totally killed off all the food molecule in that food. There's absolutely no nutrient. Now, what are you getting from that French fry? And so after you fry it, you notice it, right? You go to McDonald's or whatever fast food there is, they will fry it, deep fry it like this, and then as soon as they're done with it, they pour it down, and then what do they do? And salt all over it. So what are you getting when you're eating French fries? Salt and yes, and fat, yes, high blood pressure, okay, all of that. And there's absolutely no nutrients to it. But is it vegan? It is vegan, right? And a lot of people are dying saying, he's vegan, he still died. It is because of that. You know why? Even if you're vegan, you can still die of so many diseases. Because the balance, the ratio of your omega-3 and your omega-6 is so off. And how would that happen? It is because of the oil that you're using. We should not, if you really wanted to be concerned about your health, you should not be using oil. If you must use oil, you press the olive yourself and you just drip it into your salad. Okay? Because what happened, if you use it for cooking, what happened to the food molecule in there? You destroyed it. You destroyed it. But otherwise, you can just eat the olive itself directly without processing. So ultra-processed foods. There are additives, 1,400 man-made chemicals added to the American food supply today. And these are the main categories, 5 of them. Artificial sugars. You know how it is that people would buy those diet soda because it's 0 calories. You know why? Because they use aspartame, acesulfame, saccharin, high fructose corn syrup, sucralose, all of that. And all of this, there are all what's called excitotoxin. Okay? They're toxin. Especially it's bad for your brain. So, and it is believed that it could have a link that would lead to Alzheimer's or problem mental issues.
Brother, what is HFCS?
Oh, high fructose corn syrup. Okay, those are the ones that came from corn, and they would say, see, it's natural. Natural ingredients came from corn. But they extracted it, gone through so many processing. Again, anything that's subjected to heat, especially extreme heat, the nutrient is totally gone. They become unhealthy for you. So all of this is linked to behavioral problems, hyperactivity, allergies, and are possibly carcinogenic. So if you still wanted your drink sweet, you'd rather use the regular sugar than using all this artificial sugar. These are engineered sugar. The body that, you know, every time, whatever it is that you eat, as soon as it absorbs in your small intestine, it goes to your liver. All of this so that it could be, like, for example, the sugar will be will be converted into glucose so that the body can use. All of these additives right here will bypass the liver, and it's not processed. It's not processed. It's not metabolized. It is just floating in your system. It would trigger your pancreas to release more insulin, and it eventually would stress your pancreas, and it may cause, I think that's what causes diabetes. Another thing, artificial food colors. You know how our kids are, they love to eat colorful foods. Remember I told you to eat 5 different colors? But not this color, all right? But not this color. All right, it has to be natural color from actual plants. Most of these colors are synthetic dyes. They are coal tar derivatives. Coals, what are coals? Okay, so coal tar derivatives. What are tars? You know, can you imagine that? And most of our kids, we feed them with a cake that's full of colors. And so many other foods out there that you're snacking, giving them snacks that are so colorful to really attract them to eat it. Number 3, BHA and BHT. Please don't ask me. I cannot say the actual word on that one. So when you're looking for ingredients, if this has BHA or BHT, avoid them. They are petroleum-based products. They're also fat-soluble, used by manufacturers to prevent oxidation and retard rancidity. But you know, if you have some food that's oily foods, it'll become rancid. So to prevent that to happen, they would put BHA and BHT. And they're toxic to the nervous system and the liver. Another thing, nitrites and nitrates. This is preservatives used for mostly meats, processed meats, hot dogs, all of that. Cured, preserved, smoked meats saturated with nitrates. And when you cook them, yeah, they will prevent the growth of bacteria, but transform into cancer-causing agents called nitrosamines in the stomach. So bad chemicals, nitrites and nitrates. And MSG, everybody's familiar with this one. In the Philippines, we call it Ajinomoto. And we also Vitsin. And Ajinomoto really is a company that make all this monosodium glutamate. And this makes the food taste so good with MSG. But again, this is an excitotoxin. So if you buy foods that is packaged, just take time to read the labels. And many times my wife would buy something and it would even say heart healthy. It would even say non-GMO. But then you read the label and it says monosodium glutamate. And we have several of them that are sitting at home because I don't want to touch it. Okay, so my wife, sometimes we just grab something, excited that it's non-GMO, but then it has MSG in them. Okay, so just take your time to read the label. Now, 3 main threats to health associated with food additives. Number 1, carcinogenicity, danger of producing cancer. Teratogenicity, the danger of harming a fetus. And mutagenicity, the danger of changing gene patterns. This is what happened. Our gene expression is actually altered by the food that we eat. And we can pass it down to our children. That's why they would say, oh, it's in our genes. It runs in the family, you know. So they would say that we are big family. We are always fat. It runs in the family. But no, I think you are just fat and you're obese because nobody runs in the family. You know, that's what they said. Okay, okay, sorry. Okay, also, have you heard the saying that, okay, have you heard this saying that genes load the gun? Have you heard that one? Genes load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. Okay? So don't make it an excuse that, I have no choice. Our family are diabetics. we die of heart attacks or we die of cancer. No, you cannot make that excuse. Because the reason why you get it, because if you're doing exactly what your parents are doing, guess what? You get exactly what your parents got. But however, and I have my coworker right now, she's new and she's diabetic. So we started talking. So last week or 2 weeks ago, I told her, okay, sit down, write everything, all the foods that you eat normally throughout the week, or the food that you normally eat. So she wrote it all down. And she said, I think it's safe to assume that this kind of food is the same food that your parents are eating. And she said, yes. So are your parents diabetic? I said, yes. Yeah, it's in our genes. So I said, no, it's not in your genes. You have that propensity. You have that inclination. Okay, you can get the same disease your parents got. But if you're eating the same exact thing as your parents, it's guaranteed that you're going to get it too. So I circled all the foods. Remember, I shared with you those dining by stoplight, red foods, yellow foods, green foods. I said, I circled all the yellow foods. 90% of the one on her list are all red foods, meaning red light foods, meaning you're not supposed to be eating them. And of the green light foods, she hardly has any of them. I said, so this is what you need to do. You need to reverse everything. And of course, it's not easy. But you can do something about it. But you can mutate your genes because of the wrong foods, of the additives and the preservatives. So to avoid them, we can avoid additives. Avoid as much as we can bottled, canned, and packaged food. They're highly processed. And replace them with, again, back to the original design, fruits and vegetables. Eat as much raw and organic food as possible. Now, if you cannot buy organic foods are expensive. So if you cannot buy, you have no access to organic foods, this is what you can do. The reason why you buy organic, because of the pesticides. All right? So what you can do, you soak your fruits and your vegetable with vinegar for 30 minutes before consuming them. What it does, it would neutralize the pesticide. Yes? Vinegar, yeah, and water. So my wife did before she makes my fruit smoothie or my green smoothie. So would soak it for 30 minutes with the pan full of water and just a cup, I don't know how much vinegar. They would pour vinegar to, or you can use lemon as well. Use lemon. Yes. I'm sorry? You've used that one too? Okay, hydrogen peroxide. All I know is just the lemon. And I just heard that a couple of weeks ago, you can also use salt. Okay, salt in your water, use salt. But then make sure you just rinse it. Of course, you always rinse it after you soak it with vinegar or lemon or with salt. It will neutralize the pesticide and separate them from the food. Read labels, just like what I said. Watch out for foods that contain sugar and salt and all of those ingredients that I told you about that you cannot pronounce. And just be aware that sugar is, you know what the food industry does? They always try to bypass or go around the laws. Okay? So, sugar, if you just said sugar, you have to put all the sugar content in that product. But what they did, they separate them as glucose, dextrose, or corn syrup in one can, for example. And they would list the ingredients, so it'll be lesser when you look at them. But if you add them, you're not going to buy them because there's too much sugar in them. So don't be fooled. Glucose, dextrose, or corn syrup, they're all sugar. Another thing, give out processed snacks. So if you love to snacks, hey, bring a celery stick or carrot stick with you, or an apple, or whatever fruits, snack on fruits. And you know what? There's a study, a lot of people, especially if you're diabetic, they're concerned about the sugar in fruits. You can eat as much fruits as you can, even if you're diabetic, because the added sugar that you have to worry about If it's not the sugar from apple, banana, or the original fruits, those are the added sugar that you have to be concerned. You can eat fruits even if you're diabetic, because studies showed that you can eat as much as 20 servings of fruits, and the body will just very happy. So if you have sweet tooth, yes, snack on fruits as much as you want throughout the day. And with me anyway, that's my food pretty much all day. So give up on processed snacks. It's okay to snack, and of course we're advised. You know why we're advised not to eat snack in between meals? Because most of our meals we eat big meals, right? Big meals, we fill our stomach. We already eat a big breakfast, big lunch, big dinner, and then we still eat snacks. Now, if you eat like me, and plus also, you need to give your stomach rest after you eat a big meal. But that is because if the stomach is digesting the food. If you eat the same way I do, I drink my fruits. There's no more masticating, you know. There's no more digesting that's taking place. The breaking down of the food molecule is already broken down. So your stomach is not, what do you call that, overburdened, is not working hard. So even if so what I do, I have my fruit smoothie at 8 o'clock, or normally 8:30, I have my jar of maybe at least 3 cups. Is it 3 cups per jar, you think? 3 or 4? Yeah. 3 cups of fruit smoothie at 8:30. And then by 10 o'clock, 2 hours later, I would drink my cup of green smoothie. All right, so that's sort of my snack. And then at noon, at 12, I would eat my raw sweet potato. So raw sweet, it's crunchy. You tried it? Raw sweet potato, crunchy and sweet. You should try it. Crunchy and sweet. And then by 2 o'clock, I would have my second jar of fruit smoothie. And then at 4 o'clock, I would have my green smoothie. And then when I go home, by 6 o'clock, I would have my big bowl of salad with nuts and seeds in them. Okay, so I am pretty much eating every 2 hours. But my stomach, and just like I said last night, was it last night? That after, you know why you are sluggish after eating a big meal? Because all the energy of your body is spent or expended by digesting the food, that foreign food that you have in your stomach. However, if you eat just fruits and green smoothies and salad, those are the food that the body recognizes. And especially if it's already in the form of smoothie, you have it absorbed right away. And you never stop. Your energy never falls down. It maintains it. And I used to work as an X-ray, an MRI, and CT, just by myself, in one clinic. So I would set up my MRI patient, let it run because it takes long, and then go run back, do my CT and several X-rays, and go run back and forth in all 3 rooms all day. And I'd still be humming when I go home. I will still be singing, and I will be whistling when I'm working, and my patients would always say, "Are you always this happy?" Because I'll be whistling. And so because you have so much energy that you have in you, there are the food that the body recognizes, these kind of foods right there that you can see. That's the body that recognizes that's the food that the body recognizes as foods. So eat plenty of fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, raw nuts. And yeah, I eat a lot of nuts. I'm always obsessed with the number 5. When I use nuts, I also have several kinds of them. And it used to, have you heard before that you should not eat too much nuts because make you gain weight? Guess what? They did a study. There's a group of people that they just eat a handful, and a group of people that unlimited throughout the day, up to like so many thousand or over 1,000 calories of nuts, but not 1 pound of weight gain. And yes, you cannot If you are eating, now a lot of people will blame fruits, smoothie, for example. I went to one clinic and there was a nurse there. She saw me drinking my fruit smoothie. And she told me, you know what? And she asked me, did you ever gain weight by drinking that? I said that no. So I gained weight by drinking fruit smoothie. So I stopped drinking it. And I said, do you eat a regular meal? I said, yes. I said, well, you're blaming the wrong food for your weight gain, and you stop eating the right kind of food. This is what happened. Because you will not, if you eat strictly plant foods, whole foods, that's why my advice always to my patient is that, because they always concern, you know what is the number one concern of people, that they feel like they're not healthy? If they're like, they have some excess weight, instead of, oh, they're always thinking that to be healthy is to lose weight, right? I always tell them, don't worry about your weight. The focus is to eat healthy. Don't go into dieting to lose weight. Go into the right eating, okay, to be healthy. The focus is health, not the weight. Because what it would be the number one benefit. Look at my wife. You see her picture? She doesn't like me to show her pictures before. And I said, you should be proud of it. Because she lost 30, I lost 30 pounds. And I show, and you can, it's automatic. It's guaranteed. If you eat correctly with the foods that God packaged it originally, it's guaranteed that you lose the excess weight that you're having. It's guaranteed. I have proven it, and I've proven it with my friends, and many, many other thousands and thousands of people who have done it. So use only whole grains. If you use grains, use whole grains. That means brown rice and whole wheat. Filipinos, we love our white rice. We love our white rice. But we need to use brown rice. Brown rice. Pesticides, we talked about this one already, and there's so many of them. And just like I said, you soak your food. Preservatives also. As they say, we use no preservative. Everything is guaranteed to rot in 3 days. And if your food can go bad, it's good for you. If your food can't go bad, it's not good for you. You know why? You know why good foods, nutritious food rots? Because it is what the bacteria eats. The healthy nutrients the bacteria eat. That means whatever is left, any food that would last, don't be proud when you open your pantry and you find pancake, or what is that? Cupcakes or bread. They say, oh wow, I forgot I have this, and it's still good. Guess what? The bacteria refuse to eat it because there's no nutrients in it. And then what do? You eat it. The bacteria is wiser than us, as far as health is concerned. So don't be proud if you have some foods that's been there, and a lot of foods even that it already expired. And you open it, still smells good, it still looks good. You know why? Because the bacteria refuse to eat it because it's totally unhealthy. So if your food can go bad, it's good for you. Because the healthy nutrients is still there. We know this already. We're talking about health suppressors. All right, we know this one. 450 Americans died because of tobacco. And alcohol, we know this. It's bad for you. We're not supposed to play with them or drink them and what it can do. Caffeine, we're still, and a lot of Adventists still drink caffeinated drinks. I would sometimes, myself, would drink some tea. Okay, green tea, it has an antioxidant in it. Coffee also has antioxidant. However, what makes it bad is what you add to them. But the caffeine in it as well is that. So if you like the taste of tea, you can drink those herbal tea. There's non-caffeinated one. Okay, so caffeine, because it interferes with your nervous system. This is what I told you about. Read the labels. These are the ingredients to avoid. And sometimes it's sad that all of these ingredients can even be present in one food. Avoid HFCS, high fructose corn syrup. BHT, parabens. You know, parabens is used for cosmetics, and they use them with foods as well to preserve foods. Isn't that amazing? We're eating cosmetics. Partially hydrogenated oil. They added hydrogen into the food, again, for longer shelf life. Sodium nitrate, caramel coloring, avoid colors. Have you heard of this one? Castoreum. You know what this is? This is beaver exudate, the one that they would in their rear end. They have a sac in there. The yellowish component on that one, they would use them as food additives. Have you heard of that? Castoreum. So you have to be careful. You may be eating beaver exudate. On which one? Oh, I have a list. I didn't bring it. Yeah, there are several products that have castoreum, but just read the label. Just read the label. Castoreum. Food dyes, hydrolyzed vegetable protein. I love soy sauce. You know, but soy sauce is actually hydrolyzed vegetable protein. They subject the soybeans into so much heat, you know, and separate the components, the protein. So I am guilty of this one, but hydrolyzed vegetable protein and the MSG. So we have to, all right, so we don't have GMO. We'll just brace through them. In other words, GMO is just totally and you know this one, modified organism. They actually take genes from one species and insert them to another species so that it can withstand, for example, some type of pesticide. Let me show you this one. These are the foods that are GMO produced: soybeans, corn, cotton, and Hawaiian papaya. So don't buy Hawaiian papaya because they are GMO, genetically. Let me just show you. There's some foods in here that they inject. Okay. I just want to show you that they actually use, there's some products in here that they use human genes, and injected into that food product. I lost it. Transgenic. And you know, California is being fought over and over again every election. What the people are just asking is to label foods as GMO products, but it's always defeated. Because you know why? Monsanto, this big agricultural company, are controlling the media and sadly some people in our government. So GMO products, so just try to avoid them. So and there are some scientists, and there are so many news blackouts when talking about the bad things about GMO. And even mice doesn't eat GMO products. Some animals doesn't eat. Even ants doesn't eat GMO products. So, okay, this one here. Corn engineered with human genes. Can you imagine that? Corn engineered with jellyfish genes. Tobacco engineered with lettuce genes. Rice engineered with human genes also. Corn engineered with hepatitis virus genes. Leaves that one. They're not required to label their products. That's very sad. Okay, hopefully we can finish this one. Milk protein, casein. And that's a protein in milk. Has a casomorphin in it, an addictive compound. And humans have no nutritional need for cow's milk because milk are species specific, meaning cow's milk are only for baby cows. So humans should be only drinking human milk. And guess what? Human being is the only mammal that continues to drink milk after it is weaned, because what happened is there is a protein in milk, the casein protein. it can only broken down with renin, the enzyme called renin. But it's only in our body if we are still drinking milk from our mother. So as soon as the baby started to eat solid food, guess what? The renin is turned off. Meaning if you drink milk, cow's milk right now, the casein will not be broken down. You cannot process it. That's why we just... And of course, cheese, where does it come from? Dairy. And it should never be introduced into the stomach. It would stay in your stomach for 12 hours. And you know how cheese are made, right? Cheese is actually the refuse of the bacteria. Now notice that the longer they age the cheese, the better tasting it is, the better like it. That's totally the bacteria has refused it. The bacteria is added to the milk after pasteurization, and these are the byproduct. This is the actual warning sign in the streets of Chicago. Cheese can sack your health. Nations with the highest levels of dairy consumption are the same nations with the highest rates of osteoporosis. Like countries that consume a lot of meat products and dairy products, you know, how does the milk advertise their product? Because of what? Protein and calcium. Guess what? Protein cannot be broken down by our body when we're adult. And calcium, only 30% of the calcium content in that milk can be absorbed by our body. The rest of them may just go to waste. They may say, oh, this is this much calcium, but we cannot absorb them. Oh, 8 million Americans, women, and 2 million have osteoporosis. Costs $14 billion. So the secret of health and longevity, chronic disease prevention, eat more plant-based diet, and avoid amounts of protein and fat. And let me just go through this real quick. The reason why we have milk, this is the only reason why babies need to drink milk. And human milk is still the best food for babies. For human, there's only 1.2 protein per liter. And it would take 120. The purpose of milk is to double the weight of the baby. So it would take 120 days for the human baby to double the weight. Horse, it takes 60 days with 2.4 protein. Cows has 3.3, and it takes 47 days. Look at that. Rat has the highest content of protein, 11.8, and it would only take 4.5 days to double the weight of the baby rat. So if you want your baby to really grow really fast, give them rat milk. No? But again, milk is species specific. Casein, we talk about that one. Lactose in milk. That's why countries that consume a lot of milk products have the highest case of osteoporosis and infertility and cataracts, because the lactose in milk can no longer be broken down. A lot of people are like lactose intolerant because the lactose is converted into glucose plus galactose, and then this is also, when we become adult, we also lose those enzymes that would break down the lactose. So there are this group of people that are highly lactose intolerant. Filipinos are lactose intolerant, listed in this one, 90% of them. And the white Europeans are the ones that use, even right now, they're still producing renin because they drink a lot of milk, but yet they have the most problem of osteoporosis and cataracts and infertility. So what's wrong with milk? Fat, all of this right here. A lot of things that are associated with milk condition. So the wise counsel, Mrs. White, said that there comes a time that it will not be best to use milk and eggs. She wrote this one in 1901. And she said, there comes a time that it will not be best to use milk and eggs. So when would be that time, you think? I'd like to say that it is now, with what's going on with our food products. So in all parts of the world, provision will be made to supply the place of milk and eggs. And eggs, we don't have to talk about it, but eggs is only designed by God to produce chicks. We're not supposed to make scrambled eggs out of them. In the Philippines, we love to eat balut. Okay, so eggs should be hatched, not to be eaten. And we talk about optimal nutrition. We'll talk more about this one when we talk about exercise. Optimal nutrition, we need to eat, we need to exercise. We also need stress reduction. And this, I included this one here as the sleep is one of the health suppressors. It would suppress health, sleep. Okay, there's a lot of sleep deprivation, increased stroke risk. Short sleep can up your risk for stroke. Also lead to obesity. 6 hours of sleep or less bumps up production of the hunger hormone, ghrelin, and also fuel memory loss, damage bones. Because what happens is, when does the body does its repair? At night. What time you should be going to sleep? 8? It's good, the earlier the better, but at least 4 hours before midnight. So 4 hours before midnight, that's 10 o'clock, right? No. 2 hours before midnight. Sorry, I mean, yeah, heard you saying 8 o'clock. So 2 hours before midnight, you should be asleep. By then, you should be a third stage REM sleep, because the body repairs itself between midnight and 4. Midnight and 4. So you should be asleep because that's when the body repairs itself. So between 12 and 4, that's when the body does its repair. Okay, it also increases cancer risk. Somebody?
If you didn't get enough sleep at night, slow down, what's gonna happen?
Well, I mean, that's like what I shared with you. So many diseases that got caused with it. If you consistently do it. Now, if you're just lacking sleep, like I'm lacking sleep since I got here. I woke up at midnight last night. Okay, so I have a problem. My body right now, my circadian calendar, my circadian rhythm is off. But if it is when you do it consistently, that would cause problem with your health. But if you do it just occasionally, the body can recover. It's amazing what this body can do. It doesn't matter how much we abuse it. It's amazing what it can do to repair itself. But it can even kill you, lack of sleep. And there's one, I don't know if it's true story, somebody put out that this guy was playing video games nonstop for a couple of days, and he just slumped on his chair dead because he didn't sleep for several nights. But it can kill you. Okay, so we talk about that this body is wonderfully made. This is also God's temple. So God has given us the big responsibility to take care of this. This is God's temple, and actually, if you destroy it by the food that you put in your mouth, you're either destroying it or you're building God's temple. So think about this. Every time you eat, I want you to think, am I building this temple or am I destroying it? This is God's temple. This is not your own. We are bought with a price. So don't you know that yourself are God's temple and that God's Spirit lives in you? Okay, so these are the health suppressors, and there are many other more. And again, the advice, if we just have to go back to that perfect fuel that God designed in this perfect body that He designed us for. So, and tomorrow we'll talk about, because what happened is, in the perfect body that God created us, He gave us to prescribe the perfect fuel. If we just stick to that one and avoid all the health suppressors that we talk about tonight, then we will not have to go to tomorrow's lecture. Okay? So, but because we have violated the rules, many of the laws of good health, we ended up getting some disease. So we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Okay? So any question? No question tonight. That's good. We understand everything, right? You're getting the flow here. Okay? So if we just stick, we respect our body, take care of our body, eat only the food that God prescribed, avoid everything that we talk about tonight, then we will not get any of the diseases that we'll be talking about tomorrow. Okay? So thank you so much and good night. We have food. I hope Christian.
That some of us, testing. You mentioned earlier that some of us, we have a choice. You know, if we carry a lot of excess weight, and it's usually because of choice, our lifestyle choice, not heredity, that we carry a lot of weight. But I've read and heard that there are some foods, some things that we eat are actually addictive. And because it's addictive, it's very hard for us to, stop or resist eating a particular food. Is there any truth to food being addictive?
Yes. Have you ever uh, heard of anybody that, usually some people, they would wake up in the middle of the night, they have just some cravings of food, right? Have you ever heard of somebody saying that they wake up in the middle of the night and they're just craving for broccoli? Huh? Craving for banana or apple? What do you usually crave for? Huh? Sweets, processed foods. Okay? It is those food that makes us addictive. The ingredients, of course, the food company are really so good at manipulating our taste buds. So we only crave, we get addictive to foods that are highly processed. In its original package form, nobody craves for it. So that's why you need to focus on whole foods, plant-based diet, eating. And you will not be addicted. You only get addictive, you usually get addictive to some foods that are not good for you.
So if I'm understanding you right, if I eat more whole plant-based foods, I have less cravings and desires for the processed, sugary, sweeter.
Yes. I have a chart, and I hope I remember. I'd like to, for the review, as a review, I'd like to show that chart. If you're craving, for example, for chocolate, your body is actually lacking calcium. So, and then I have suggestion, eat this instead. So I'll show you that chart to you tomorrow, okay, as a review. Okay, so you only crave for something that is bad for you. Nobody craves for something that's natural. Yes?
So, my question is, like, normally, how much would you budget for a week for, like, doing this or practicing this kind of, like, meals and smoothies and that?
My
kind of
budget,
stuff?
I guess I did it. My wife's away. And she's been away for several weeks already, so I did all my shopping. So to get all my week's worth of food, $50. $50. Okay? No, over there. Okay, so I go to Winco. There's a food company. So what I do, I also have up to 10 different kinds of fruits, 8 to 10 different kinds of fruits. Okay, I would buy them. I would buy 5 of each kind because one for each day, right? And then I would buy my parsley, my collard green, and my kale for the only 2 bunches of them. And I would have my week's worth of green smoothie. And also I have my week's worth of my fruit smoothie. $50. And I have my nuts also, my nuts and seeds along with it. $50. Because I have my homegrown in my back. I have my lemon for my salad dressing. Don't use commercial dressing. Make your own, lime or lemon. Okay, and again, just like we said, if you cold press olive oil, if you want some fatty taste to your salad, but otherwise you don't need it. Because what I do, I use in my salad, I use two colors of olives, the green olives and the black olives. Again, you have to make your salad very colorful. If you don't have 5 different colors, don't start eating yet. Look for another color and put it in there. Okay? So it's not expensive at all. At least that is with me. My wife, when my wife is at home, that was just for me though. So if my wife's at home, they would probably have to double that one. Okay? All right, did that answer your question? It's not expensive at all. Okay, any other question? So we have a food tasting tonight. My wife made that mock tuna. It's really good for making sandwich. You know, tuna that has no tuna. All right, we're done?
All right, I'm going to just ask everybody to go ahead and stand now, and we're going to go ahead and close out with prayer, and then we're going to transition over to the fellowship hall. And let's bow our heads. Merciful Father, Lord, once again, we just want to give you praise and thanks, Lord, for inviting your servant to join us here tonight. And as we continue to share about this wonderfully made body and all those perfect fuel that fuels this body and maintain it, Lord, and those health suppressors that oftentimes inhibit or prevents us from having that full and abundant life, Lord. We again ask you, Lord, to impress upon us through your Spirit the importance of eating right, living right, making good lifestyle choices so we can maintain this temple that you have given to us for the whole purpose of glorifying you, but also serving the kingdom. Be with us now, Lord, as we separate and transition over to the food tasting, and just invite you to continue to fellowship with us as we transition over to the food tasting. Be with us now, Lord, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
しません